Hi everyone, I'm Coach Greg, and in this video, we'll talk about what exercises will help to develop big shoulders, how to perform these exercises, as well as analyze the main mistakes in the technique of execution. But before we start, I'll ask you to subscribe and put a like to promote the channel. In order to look visually wider, first of all, you need to train the middle and back part of the shoulder, so a great emphasis in the training process should be made on them. The first ideal exercise that many people don't know about is the mid-delta crossover swing. It is one of the best exercises to pump up big shoulders. The huge advantage over dumbbell swings is the amplitude. The movement in this variation is very large and anatomically correct. Also, the load will be constant. Working from the lower block in the crossover is uncomfortable and the load presses down. That's why we put the block at the level of our hands. This way, at the bottom point, the shoulders will be stretched more. Your elbows should not be above the shoulder joint, otherwise you will get injured. Therefore, the elbow should always be below the shoulder joint, but above the hand. Concentrate on your elbows and bring them to the sides. Continue to work clearly, technically, and under control. Also, in this exercise, you do not need to tilt the body strongly. It does not give you anything, because the position of the shoulder does not change because of this. Because in crossover, the angle of resistance is created by the crossover cable itself, so the position of the body does not change the load. The next very effective exercise for the middle deltoid is the barbell pull to the chin. There are three peculiarities of the technique. First of all, you should not pull too wide, but pull a little wider than the shoulder level, and because of this, the function of the middle delta will be performed a little better. The next point, never press the bar to the body. Otherwise, the elbow goes backwards, and the chance to injure the shoulder is much higher. To do this, pull the bar a little bit forward so that the bar goes in an arc. And the third point is that the elbow in this exercise should not even reach 90 degrees. The function of the middle deltoid is perfectly fulfilled. And the third and final exercise for the middle deltoid will be any swing in the block machine. You can see a few variations on the screen. I added this exercise only because these machines have the right biomechanics, so it's hard to break the technique. But it's worth remembering that it's also not recommended to raise the elbows above the shoulder. Now let's talk about the posterior bundle of the shoulder. Most often people forget to train it. Forgetting to train it is the biggest mistake in bodybuilding and powerlifting. We don't work on the posterior delta, and as a result, we get a lot of shoulder problems. And a very high number of injuries too, by the way. Guys, work on the rear deltoid. Put it into your training plan. It should be strong, it should be well hypertrophied, including the load should be distributed evenly. The athlete should be strong from all sides. The first exercise will be the back deltoid isolation in the butterfly machine. Emphasize working on the rear deltoid and trapezius. Don't put your elbows down, turn them outward. This way, you will shift the load to the back delta. Keep your shoulder blades apart and extend your arms forward to relieve the load on your back. By bringing your shoulder blades together, the trapezius will take some of the load. The deltoid muscle works in small amplitude. The posterior delta is a very small muscle bundle. Don't take heavy weights or you'll shift the load to your back. Work by feel. The next exercise will be dumbbell pull on the rear delta. In this exercise, you can lean your body forward or rest your chest on the bench. The angle between the arm and the body should be 90 degrees. I would advise you to bring your shoulder blades together at the very end of this exercise, so you will be able to squeeze the rear deltoid more. Plus, you will load the middle of your back, which is not superfluous in this variation. You should also remember that here you need to pull, not spread, so you can take a lot of weight. The final exercise for today will be the rear deltoid plate pull to the face. This exercise is one of the best exercises to develop the rear delts and rotator cuff muscles. Pros of this exercise: isolated work of the rear delts, formation of a more spherical shape of the shoulder, strengthening of the shoulder joint, elimination of asymmetry in the development of the delts and prevention of injuries, as there is a constant controlled progression of load. And now, to the technique. Take the handle, pigtail, hook it to the top of the crossover. Step back 1, 2 steps, palms necessarily inside and slightly tilt back. Shoulder blades can also be reduced. So why I don't recommend pumping the front deltoid in isolation? It's very simple. It receives a huge amount of load in all pectoral presses and shoulder presses. The result, as a rule, is that 90% of trainees have overdeveloped anterior deltoids, with the middle and posterior deltoids lagging behind. That's why I don't see any sense in isolating the anterior deltoid, and I advise you to spend this time on training the middle and posterior deltoids. What's most interesting is that in experiments comparing muscle activation, the anterior deltoid is much more active in simple overhead presses rather than deadlifts. Another interesting observation is that the middle and rear deltoids were much more active in standing bench presses than in seated bench presses. This is probably due to the fact that they have to stabilize the projectile very actively. This is where the video ends. To help build a proper workout and nutrition plan, I can help in my online introduction in my Telegram. Link in the description. See you in the next video.